And it's Staropoli? How do you say it?
How were you going to say it?
Staropoli?
No. It was close, but you were right the second time, I think. You could say Staropoli.
Staropoli.
That's fine right there.
I'm joined today by Frankie Staropoli. He's a passionate man that wears 3 hats, and we're going to learn more about what's behind that passion. Frankie, so we get to do life here in Somerville as friends and actually neighbors as well. You're right down the street from me. Your beautiful family, your wife and 2 daughters,
Right.
Very active in the community.
They or me?
Both. As a family, as a unit, you guys are very active. Athletic, you and your wife are very much into fitness and healthy nutrition, so that parallels.
In spirit more than mine right now, our body, but yeah, we definitely have similar goals.
Yes, we do. And then your daughter is part of Somerville High School, so y'all are active. And you're a grad from Somerville, right?
I am a Somerville graduate. She is cheering for Somerville. She's not there yet. She's still at Alston.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
But she's going to be going there following Dad's footsteps.
Yeah. Good. What is it about this community that you love so much?
I grew up in New Jersey in a small town, and I say it's a small town, but it was very populated, but we had our segments in the neighborhoods, and everybody that knew everybody, you'd go down the street and, my father worked for his family in a cafe. There was a butcher down the street. There was a deli. You can go into any establishment. If they knew you, he'd treat you like family, and they'd say, tell your father I got it later. Don't worry about it, And I've always said I love doing business with folks where I can go in and know everybody's name and vice versa, right? And so that's what Somerville is. Somerville, we can go to any restaurant, any coffee shop, any establishment, grocery store, and we see people we know, and it's all smiling faces. It's just a very friendly community, and that's what I want to raise my children in.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, anybody that knows you have a big heart and a strong passion for other people. And so I want you to talk a little bit about your community involvement. I mean, that passion has led you as a leader within the community in different areas. The Beacons, I want you to tell us about that organization that you started as well. So what is fueling this passion behind your service to the community?
So I'm going to go way back. 2015, F3 got brought to Somerville by Wesley Donahue. And at the moment, it was about we just had our second daughter, and I was just at my worst physically, and I was like, I need to get better, right? And I was invited out to this group by a friend, and Nick Piscazio, and joined them, and 100 guys are there working out, and I'm like, oh, this is embarrassing, this is tough. But as the weeks went on, there was a real spiritual element to it that just kept convicting me and sticking with me, and I was like, I'm gonna keep coming back. Well, then we had a meeting one day, and I forgot the content of the meeting, but I asked Wesley, I was like, is there like a philanthropic or a charitable component to this? And he was like, absolutely. So we talked about the board designations and how that worked. And so he said, well, you asked, do you want to lead it? I said, absolutely. Me and another gentleman led the charitable part of it, right? And so it's always been on my heart to try to help out or give in the community. And that gave me the vehicle I needed to get involved in some of that stuff. And then it became about how do we help our own? So how do we raise money for some families in need? There's a family who was trying to adopt a kid. One of our guys had got sick and had to go to the hospital with some internal issues, and we raised money for their family. And so it just kept seeing the results tangibly, being put to action, doing the fundraisers, seeing the results of the families, and it just kept touching my heart. And I was like, how do I keep doing this but bigger? Fast forward, I get involved with the Education Foundation. My kids are in the school district that I went to, so it was important to me that I see them grow up in this environment that I come to love as a student and as an adult now. And for that, we went into the schools and did like surprise grants where the teachers would apply, and then we'd do a little Publishers Clearinghouse. We'd go and award them their checks and with these balloons. And so I'd see the teachers' emotions. Well, I had the fortunate opportunity to go back to Gabriella School and see the grants that they won being put to action at a parent night. So I was like, how cool is that? And so got me more involved in her school personally outside of that role. And then one day approached the principal and said, what can we do? And she told me her words were, the foundation's great, you guys are always there. And I was like, well, no, but what can Frank Staropoli do? Not Foundation Dad, because that was my nickname at the school. And so she said, well, I'm glad you asked. We have a high percentage of families in our school that don't have a male presence at home, and we're looking for like a mentor program. So I said, I'll get you 20 guys next week. And I did, but through the schedules, it got down to about 11 or 12. And then that started our first plan.
And that's grown because now you're incorporating women being mentors for young ladies in the school as well.
Yeah, this is our first year with a ladies group called the Leading Ladies. And in true fashion of women, you guys showed out. You overcame the men with numbers. So we are in 7 schools in the district right now. I'm trying to think. There is 2 of those schools are occupied by women alone, which we're trying to work on a men's group. But yeah, the women are phenomenal. They always show up in groups. They always show up in enthusiasm. They want to give and nurture. So that has been a huge blessing. On paper, recently, we just became a legit 501c3. So we'll have our first board meeting next Monday.
It's wonderful. Well, it's inspiring to watch what you're doing in the community. I've mentioned that passion and that fire behind it. It even led you to run for school board at one point. Didn't lead to successful position onto that school board. However, with anything, I think that it's opened doors and opened up conversations and brought more awareness to what you are doing in the community. And I'm excited to watch what you have ahead for this district. And people may not realize, but we have a lot of Title I schools within Dorchester 2 schools system.
And I'm glad you said that too, because I used to really beat myself up about not winning a seat, and it's perceived as a big loss and all that, a failure. In reality, though, there's a lot of successes that came out of the campaigning, and the mentor group being the biggest one. But just bringing the awareness to, the whole point of running for school board too was never about being in a seat. My desire to be on a panel is not great. It's more of what awareness can I bring to the schools that I see every week while we're in there. We're occupying that classroom. Like, what do I know that these teachers need? What can I bring back to the other governing members and say, hey, we're neglecting this issue. Why are we not addressing it? Because fact of the matter is there's not a whole lot of classroom visits, right? So how can you vote and regulate policy when you don't really know what's going on? And so my intention is to try to bring awareness to some of that stuff, and I can still do that. I mean, that doesn't have to be in a board capacity. So that's my intent, is to still advocate for teachers and students and families like mine or ours.
That you are. And I'm proud to know you, and proud of so many of my friends to be involved in the leading ladies and the beacons that you're leading and kind of segueing into more and more schools in our district. You're serving families, which is what you're doing, and children, and having that impact. So it's really cool.
The reality of it too is, and this is the biggest thing I always take away from it, is, like you said, you and I are neighbors, and there is a boy in our mentoring program that I don't personally mentor, but I've heard some stories about his situation, and he is just one block over from where you and I live, and for that to be such a staunch difference in our lifestyle experiences, from one block away, that's pretty incredible. So I think a lot of people don't realize it's in your backyard. It's not, you didn't move to a certain part of town to get away from whatever. It's there where you are. You just don't know it, So to see people invest in complete strangers that they want to help, it just,
Yeah. You actually posted on social media just the other day about recognizing one of those beacons, one of those mentors, and you heard laughter twice in the same day coming from a table. And in both of those was the same mentor, different table, different kid, but both of them were finding joy in that conversation and in that moment.
Yeah, I mean, I can list all. Personally, I get the pleasure of seeing 2 schools at work, but we have so many other guys who are doing good work in the schools I don't see every week, which is unfortunate. They keep me in the loop. But personally, I can tell you, some of those individuals, and I'll say their names, is like Skip Williams is fantastic with his mentees, and they love him. Brad Mallett is so enthusiastic with his folks, and his kids just love the time together. And Justin Lee, Ryan DePoppy, JJ Jenkins, all these guys that come into the schools with me. Today at the middle school, we played basketball with the kids and, got to shoot the ball a little bit. And you just see them in a much more relaxed setting than probably in the classroom. But the fact is that these guys are returning week in and week out to just focus on them and pour into them. And I think the kids, we don't give the kids enough credit what they pick up on, And so while in the moment we might think, oh, they don't really care if we're here. Fact of the matter is, perfect example, today we had an SIC meeting with the schools, which is School Improvement Council. Part of the agreement is after that, we get to walk to the classrooms and go see our little mentees. And me and Ryan DePoppy were walking to our classroom to go see our boys. And as we're walking, our kids are giving us hugs in the hallway, and they see us and they're all excited. So that's irreplaceable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I got to serve for quite a number of years on the PTA board, and it becomes like a family. My kids are there, they get recognized, but yeah, the hugs that your kids give you, but also other kids, when they see you in the school, they see you serving, you're just a familiar face to them.
Yeah.
Kids need hugs. They need that compassion.
This is my second year as a PTA president, and I want to apologize to all PTA members in the world because I completely underestimated the roles and what they do, and that is a tough job.
Parent involvement, and so many times families, especially in a single household, a single parent household, that parent can't always be involved, not only in the school, but largely sometimes in the child's life. And so I don't know how you find the time to do all that you do, because this is not what you do full time as a career. You are in the wine industry. And so I appreciate the drop offs at my doorstep for that, testing new things and product. But how did you get into the wine industry?
Wow. So God moments, right? I grew up with my parents starting a restaurant. It's always been food around us, and which is why I work out as much as I do. But I was kind of lost after high school, went and decided I wanted to go to culinary school. And so went to culinary school, really found a passion, and began working in restaurants and cooking. And while I loved what I did, I hate that it was my job. And so it just wasn't a lifestyle I knew that was going to be conducive to the family I wanted and stuff like that. So one day I was at work, and a gentleman that sold wine to us came up, and it was lunchtime. It was a lunch rush. I said, no, it's not a good time. Like, I need you to come back. He's like, I got time. I'll wait. And he was sitting there eating food off of my line. And I was like, what are you doing? Like, we were friendly, so I made jokes with him. But I said, what do you do all day? He was like, this. I was like, yeah, I want to do that. And so it turned into laughing. And he said, yeah, I'll pass you a number. And he passed me a phone number. And it was to the opposite side of the business, but regardless, I had an interview, and I started from the very bottom. I take some steps back, but I called every week until I got that job. And they even told me the only reason I got hired is because I was so persistent that they said, if you're willing to do this to get a job, what will you do in a sales role? So I had to start at the very bottom and pay my dues and work my way up to where I am now.
Yeah, but it makes you appreciate those, because now you're in a leadership position within the company, and it makes you appreciate those that are working underneath you.
Yeah, and I don't have any direct reports in this role that I have now. I have the one constant I always hear, and they'll tell you every decision I make, there's always a balance of, okay, what's going to benefit them, but what's going to hurt them. Like, my decision to make is not just what makes Frank feel good. How does it impact the company? How does it hurt these guys, their commission sales, So a decision I make could greatly impact their income.
I think that's the definition of a leader, Frank. Well, talking about being in culinary and kind of that as your background, let's talk. They say the kitchen is the heart of the home. And so let's talk about that in perspective of what would be the top 3 things that you have in your kitchen. Listen, I can cook. Mine is because I have to put food on the table. We have to eat. I can't really proclaim that I enjoy doing it, nor am I great at doing it. I'm good at best on maybe a couple of meals. So what would you say are like top 3 things that you got in your kitchen that you cannot live without?
Utensils or food?
Well, let's go with utensils or, yeah.
I have a Dutch oven, like a Le Creuset kind of pot.
Yep.
I can do probably anything in that, so I would need that. I think a whisk is incredibly important, and spatula. Those 3 things. Oh, excuse me. Let me replace one. I think the whisk is important. I'll take a knife. You need a knife.
Oh, you do have to have a knife. Yeah, that chopping manner and the fat. Oh, yeah.
Whisk is not going to cut through a steak too well, so yeah, I need the knife.
All right, so those 3 things, you can cook up a nice meal, give you the right ingredients, you whip it up. Well, people congregate in the kitchen. They do. Yeah, they do. You have this big center island and open floor plan.
Full transparency, I can't stand it, but everybody comes to the house, and that's where being a chef, the line is your sanctuary, and nobody intrudes that. When I had my station, it was my station, and the guy had his station, and we knew our role. So when people are in my house and I'm trying to cook and they're coming by the sink or they're moving around, I'm like, oh my God, the inner anxiety.
So it's a debate. I've actually got a builder right now that didn't put a microwave into one of his new builds or into one of his renovations. And I'm like, you're not going to have a microwave? Do you ever use your microwave? You do. Okay.
I mean, it's a joke. In the culinary world, the microwave is referred to as chef mic. But you want to be the one making the food. You want to be the one creating it. But I've got small children. Like, the microwave is absolutely necessary for popcorn and other stuff like that.
Don't skip on the microwave.
No, I would say though, especially in regards to what your business is, those built-in microwaves are so much more appreciated than the countertop ones.
Yeah.
So
yeah. It's fun when I get to look at a kitchen and we start spatial planning and what components do you really have to have? What are you going to need? And yeah, so I have a design background, so I can lead them into what looks good, but function-wise, I'm not your girl.
I hear you. I feel inadequate now because they've got these microwaves that slide out of the drawers, and I'm like, man, mine still opens up like normal. So,
yeah,
I'm missing out, but yeah.
Well, thank you, Frankie. It's given us great insight into how people. Well, let's ask for a minute. If somebody wants to be a participant in Dorchester 2 Schools mentor program, maybe they've got. It's not, 30 minutes a week? 30 minutes a week that they can give and they want to get involved. How would they get involved in a program?
Yeah, so I'll say this first and foremost, right? And I'm not looking at the camera. I would love to have anybody who's willing to join the Beacons be a part of our group. I acknowledge we are not the only group, so I encourage you to get involved in any manner. We would love to have you first and foremost, but if you choose another group, we support that as well, and we would love to partner with some in the future. If you want to join the Beacons or Leading Ladies, you can email me at staropolifrank@gmail.com. So it's STAROP as in Peter, OLI, frank@gmail.com. But email me your interest. I'll reach out to you. I can send you a PowerPoint that I made that kind of explains what we do. There are a few like me who serve in the elementary school for 30 minutes, and then we go on to the middle school for another 30. So it has potential to be an hour or so. But I think if you get involved, you'll find that it's one of the best things you'll probably do in your life. Just bringing some kind of joy or support to another child that you don't know. These kids are, I hate to use the word victims, but they're inundated daily with decisions that they don't have any input in, right? So for 15 minutes, we are able to pour into them and give them whatever they want to talk about, whatever they want us to discuss with them, whatever help they want. 15 minutes of their life, it is about them and no one else.
It's meaningful and it's impactful, and it's something that they will carry. It's planting seeds of hope so that they can carry that and watch them in the future. I don't know if you guys are able to keep up with these people over the mentees, that you're able to track them and stay in contact with them, but it'll be very interesting to see how that impact and where that leads them in life.
Yes, I'll say we are in our fourth year. We are at a place where we followed some at a middle school, and that's been great to see. It's not been a lot, but it's been some. That's been amazing to watch. These relationships kind of flourish over a couple of years, and then you get the new ones in, and where the new ones might seem intimidated, they see your bond with the older one, and because it's separate time, so it's in passing, but I'm really looking forward to the next 5 or 10 years to see how these relationships flourish. And if we even keep in touch outside of school, right now we do everything the right way. We follow all the laws and the legalities, and our contact with the children is only at school through school emails. But I would love to see if a kid goes on to high school and early college one day and wants to reach out and connect again. And, that's my hope, is that they keep in touch with us. So
Right.
It's a long-term investment. Right now, though, we're still learning as we grow, but the hope is that this will be for something for years. Somebody asked me this the other day on a walk, and I hope to God this is the case, but I would love to see my children take this and run with it.
Yeah. Well, you're building a legacy, whether it's this or something else. I guarantee you, your girls will find a way and a passion. I know that my parents instilled in me the love to serve and to give. And you're planting seeds in your own kids indirectly because of what they see you doing. And we will leave this legacy behind to them. I mean, my grandparents did it for my parents, and they did it for me. And Lord willing, I'm like you. I hope that my children will carry on that same passion.
And I said this during my campaign too, but the day I leave this earth, I would love my family to hear he left it better than he found it. And then as I'm awakening my new life, I would love to hear, well done, my good and faithful servant. I want to hear those lines back to back if I can. So that's the goal. And I'm going to live every day pushing for that. And, we'll see.
Frankie, what drives this passion in you?
So, just honestly, the heart I have, I think, is just developed over time into that. But sadly, I will have to say, probably around in my youth, in middle school, late elementary, I was like the bully. I was the kid that didn't show the empathy and didn't understand the kids' surroundings. So it's kind of always been a point of remorse or regret for me. So hopefully, the attention, the hope is the attention that I put forth now, will never, what's it called? It'll never make up for what I did in the time, but, and it wasn't like I was a reckless bully and just this tyrant, but I definitely was, where we lived, I felt like our family name was we were established and all that. So any kids that were around, I just took advantage of their weaknesses or shortcomings, and I made laughs at their expense, And so as I got older, especially moving into a new environment like Somerville from New Jersey, we went from a school with a class of 13 to a class of 300 in Austin Middle School. I was the new kid who didn't know anybody yet or didn't have relationships, and that was a hard place to navigate in 8th grade. So for me, that's always been something that's just weighed heavy on my spirit. Of course, I want to make that right, but also as I walk in my faith, as I grow in my faith and become more spiritual, just to be the good Christian, to do what God commands.
Yeah. Well, it's a powerful testimony of lessons learned and using it for the good. Well, you're having a great impact. So on behalf of the community, we do appreciate you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for the time. I appreciate it.
Sure. Hopefully you found value today in Frankie's story about how he serves the community. If I can be of any service to you in buying or selling real estate in the area, reach out to me. Let's talk.